Hello everyone, welcome to webinar episode 2. Thanks everyone for taking the time and for joining us. Just a little bit of housekeeping to start. All participants are going to be on mute, but you can ask questions with the chat. We've got our chat teams in the UK and the US on standby. So please feel free to ask any questions in the chat window. And we will be staying on for 10 or 15 minutes after the end of the webinar to answer any questions. I'll be staying on as well, and our chat team will happily field those questions. If you do have any questions afterward, please visit our website and use the chat there or post a question in our forums. We will be doing another webinar following this around APIs specifically. So we will cover a little bit about APIs in this webinar, but there will be a follow-up one with much more detail. Okay, so we're going to be talking today about retaining employees and attracting new talent with your workplace. Just to break that down a little bit, as we like to at the beginning of these sessions, what do we mean by retaining and attracting employees and new talent? And how do we mean using our workplace to do that? It really comes down to creating a workplace where people want to work. So when you are looking at hiring and you're also looking at attracting and retaining that talent, that your workplace is meeting those expectations, those needs and those desires of those kind of employees. And we're going to be talking about how technology can help you achieve that. Just to cover off the few areas we're going to go through, we've got the changing landscape of workplace technology. So first of all, we're going to be talking about why workplace technology is changing and what are the driving forces behind the expectations of employees and new talent you might be bringing into your workspace. One of the things that we've seen happen quite a lot with our customers or prospects is that people look at what other people are doing and they follow the industry, but they don't go back and understand why employee expectations have changed and what is setting the pace for those changes and those expectations that employees and potential employees have with their workspaces. And we'll then be looking at the impact of those changes in expectations and these technologies on space management. So how does it actually impact how we manage space and what technologies we put into the workspace? And lastly, how do we meet those challenges? So what technologies do we need to create those journeys and meet those expectations? Okay. We will do a little poll slightly in a couple of slides into the presentation. We'll do a little poll. It'd be great to get your feedback. And as always, if you can leave any feedback around the content or the experience in these webinars, we really would be, it would be great to hear that. Okay. First of all, I think the big statement that we really want to make clear is that employee expectations have changed, right? Gone are the days when a workplace can be a cubicle-based workplace where you're there from 9 to 5 and you're there using a dated technology, right? People's expectations around what technology in the workplace feels like has changed. And about 44% of businesses see that adaptation or that adopting of those changes as a real big challenge over the next 5 years, right? People's expectations and employees and prospects' expectations have changed significantly, and we wanted to explore why those expectations have changed and what are those expectations now. So one of the reasons, and one of the primary reasons people's expectations have changed and employees' expectations have changed is because of the B2C market, the retail market for technology. So I asked this as a rhetorical question: how smart is your home in comparison to your workplace, right? If you're at home and you're using smart lighting, you're using smart thermostats, you're using other smart technology, Alexa at home, for example, and then you walk into your workplace, is your workplace as technologically advanced and gives you that kind of experience? That's the question. And the answer for a lot of people is no, it is not. There is an expectation being set at home and in the retail industry on mobile devices, with smart technology in the home, and that expectation isn't being met when the user or the employee transitions into the workplace. So what are the kind of things that these retail experiences are creating? What are the kind of attributes of these experiences that we need to be looking at to replicate or build upon within the workplace. So immediacy. These retail experiences and these type of technological engagements that the users take on are immediate. They're instant. They don't have to wait for a response. They can press a button and suddenly an Uber's coming, right? They can do all sorts of things very, very quickly and very, very easily. And that leads on to simplicity. We need these things to be simple and easy, without training needed, without large, long steps and guidance required. You like an iPhone, like using Alexa, there doesn't need to be a training course or a user guide to be able to use these things. They are simple and they're immediate. Then context and personalization. These are important factors because these modern experiences that people are demanding, or the new talent and talent you want to retain expects, has context to the action the user is trying to create. It knows who the user is. It knows what their preferences are. It knows what they've booked previously or what they've done previously. It knows their preferences and it's personal to them. So when you order an Uber, it knows, for example, whether you are using your personal card or your business card. It knows your history. It knows the locations you've been in. It knows other information that gives context and personalization to the experience. Intelligence and integration. These are really important as well. So when we're looking at workplace technology experiences, we want to make sure those experiences are intelligent, so they're smart, there's learning there behind the scenes, and that they are integrated. Users do not want to have to go through lots of different steps to achieve a goal. They want that journey to be connected and unified. So making sure those experiences are integrated is really, really important. And lastly, making sure they're available, right? The availability of those experiences on any device in the way the users want to work. And the big thing here is about mobile, obviously. People want to be able to perform tasks on mobile, on laptop, on different brands of mobile, for example, Android or iOS. So people expect to be able to conduct actions and activities and engage with their workspace on different types of devices. So when you look at these things and you ask yourself, when I'm creating a digital experience in the workplace, am I learning from these retail experiences and making sure that the technology I put in place has all of these characteristics? Okay, what are the driving forces behind this change in expectations? We spoke about, obviously, the retail market and the experiences being offered to our potential employees and actual employees in the personal world and at home and out and about. But there's certain technologies that have enabled these things to exist within the workplace now, right? There's certain catalysts that have driven user expectations higher, and in the workplace, they should match or exceed those in the home. Those catalysts are things like API integrations, simple application programming interfaces that mean integrating solutions together is easier than ever before. So if you're purchasing any kind of technology or you're looking at an experience within the workplace, you want to make sure that that product you're buying or that thing you're implementing is able to be integrated, and APIs are a really key way of doing that. As more and more products have utilized APIs, more and more things can talk to each other, creating a connected user experience. Cloud technology has been a really, really key driver of what we've seen in the market and increasing the type of products that people can use and the pace that we can move within the commercial and business world. With cloud technology, we can compete with the retail world in terms of offering innovation, speed, automatic updates, and making sure that we are keeping those experiences as much to their users' expectation as possible. And lastly, mobile. The drive forward in mobile computing and the ability for people to complete complex tasks on mobile has made a significant improvement in meeting those user expectations within the workplace. Okay, we're going to do a quick poll now, and these are always really, really interesting, so I'm excited to see what everybody comes back with. There's a poll that will be opening up on your screens now. There's three choices, but the question is, what do you see as your biggest challenge around employee retention and recruitment? There's a few different options here. We've got sufficient variety of workspaces, offering flexible or remote working, or workplace technology. So what we mean by sufficient variety of workspaces is it a big challenge for you in your scope of retention and recruitment is having a variety of different workspaces, or is it offering flexible and remote working, as in people can work from home or people can work flexibly their own hours? Or is it the fact that the technology in the workplace is not meeting those users' expectations? So that poll is open now. We're going to give it about 30 seconds. I've been talking for about 10 of them. So we'll give it a little bit longer, and then we'll close that poll and we'll discuss the feedback a little bit later. Okay, we're going to be closing the poll now. Thank you for everyone for filling that in, and then we're going to carry on, and we will go back to those results shortly and share those after the session. All of the recording for this and the materials will be posted and available after, and obviously we're there to answer any questions at the end of the session. Okay, so we've talked about what is setting the pace of expectation of users' expectations, but how does this relate to technology and talent acquisition, right? What's the impact on how we manage space? There's a few different things, and that is the fact that we've shifted in the technology industry, and specifically the workplace technology industry, to focus on the experience. So instead of going, this piece of technology gives us this, and this is our ROI, the focus is we need to give our employees a good experience across different points in the journey of using the workspace, whether that's booking a room, whether that's having a collaboration session, whether that's using a kiosk to find a colleague. All of these experiences matter, right? And this does relate back to our employee retention and talent that we'll talk about in a bit more detail in just a second. So the kind of things that these drivers are changing is obviously workplace technology as a whole. So having screens outside rooms, having sensors in the office so that people can interact with the temperature and the lighting, and things are automated, having kiosks so people can find their way around a building, having technology that allows them to book their holiday and make their requests for a new mouse on their phone, right? These are all key things that offer employees good experiences. Being able to work flexibly or remote working, now that might seem like a policy question or an HR question, but it's actually a technology enabled thing. If we want people to be productive when they are working remotely or flexibly, then we need to make sure they have the technology to do that. They need to be able to book space when they need it, and they need to be able to connect to employees and other colleagues remotely using a decent type of unified communication system, whether that be Microsoft Teams or Zoom or Skype or GoToMeeting or something of that nature. And also, variety of workspaces is really important. And it really adds to the experience, because not every task, not every role fits the same mold in terms of how it can be most productive. It's not about necessarily, if I want to go and have a collaboration session with my colleague who's helping me out today, Claire, we don't need to necessarily go and sit at two desks next to each other or a big meeting room. We might find it more productive to work in a space where we can brainstorm and we can just look, work face to face, for example, and write up on a board. But we also might find that it is more productive for certain activities to be sat around a table in a conference style. So having a variety is really important to aid productivity. And that's what users are demanding these days. That's what new talent demands. So how do we meet those challenges? And how do we deliver what those new talent and those people who are there we want to retain expectations are or have? So it becomes more and more important, and we're going to go through the key points. It becomes more and more important to retain that talent the more competitive the industry you're in. So just before we go through those steps, I just want to highlight that if you are in the top business vertical, at the top of your business vertical, and you need to retain and attract that talent coming straight out of the universities, the colleges, etc. today, it's even more important to have a great workspace. I can't stress enough that it is impossible to get the best talent and retain that talent if you don't have a workspace that meets their expectation and gives those great employee experiences. So how can that be achieved? New technology to drive productivity, really, really important. Utilizing things that allow smart workspaces, utilizing things that give people access to tasks and productivity on mobile, giving people connected user experiences that meet their expectations, which we've been through earlier, is set by their retail experiences they go using day to day. Create a more agile working environment. And this comes back to the last point here, which I really do tend to talk about a lot, which is choice and control. What the employee of today wants, and the talent that you're trying to retain and the talent you're trying to bring in want, is choice and control. We want to be able to choose how we work to get the most productivity out of our working day, and we want to be able to control some aspects of that. We want to be able to control where we're working. We want to be able to control which desk we're booked at potentially, or which workspace we're utilizing. Employees coming out of universities, or even coming back into the workforce, that level of talent, they're looking for choice and control because it's offered to them in their personal lives, in their home lives, but it's also offered by some of the most bleeding edge companies around the world. And that's what they're going to be comparing with when you are going through an interview process, or when you're looking to retain them and they're having offers from elsewhere. So we're going to have a quick look at those poll results, which I think will be really, really interesting. So we've got a 25% vote for sufficient variety of workspaces, so about a quarter. We've got offering flexibility and remote working is really important in employee retention and recruitment. But workplace technology comes in second, which is interesting, with 32%. So just to reiterate, we've got, the question was, what's the biggest challenge around retention and recruitment? And we've got the top answer is flexible remote working, in second place workplace technology, and in last place sufficient variety of workspace. But not a real kind of a loser there in a sense. 25% still a good result. So that's really interesting, because workplace technology is creeping up. I think about 3 or 4 years ago, workplace technology would not have been so high on that list as a challenge to employee recruitment. And I think as flexible working and remote working become more standard, then workplace technology is really going to be a big area of challenge and focus for the industry. Okay, so this is our last part. We want to leave this on a note around how we see the technology in the workplace, and one of the key things that we think helps with that challenge, and it's all about creating a connected, integrated experience, right? Bringing solutions together to create a unified user journey that isn't fragmented with lots of different steps and different systems. So when we've mapped out where our products sit, but also other products sit within the workspace, and especially a smart workspace, we get a little diagram together that looks a bit like this. We've got some core elements of the workplace. We've got devices, IoT devices, smart devices. We've got sensors playing a part there. We've got apps for booking, for HR, for different things. And we have calendar integration and voice integration. These are kind of core elements of the ecosystem, but they actually spread out further than that. And if they can't all work together in an integrated, unified ecosystem, then you start to have problems with your user journey and user experience. So the second layer we have here is around integrations with unified communications, integrations with analytics tools, because so much more and more people are pushing for data-driven decision making. So you need to be using tools that can actually pull that data together across all of your different workplace technologies. Machine learning, really, really key. Right? It doesn't need to be, once you've got all that data, you can have a machine learn from that and make decisions to improve productivity and the experience in the workplace. Reservation systems are incredibly key, right? Because you can't just have real time. There is a gap in real-time solutions where you need to have some intent there. People need to plan in advance. So you need to be able to reserve things for the future. People's data, as in HR data, and biometric information is really hot topic. I know it's not hugely popular right now, but it's becoming more and more so. So making sure your solutions can integrate with people data and biometrics. And lastly, calendar services. So things like Office 365 calendars, G Suite calendars, they really need to be having solutions that are working seamlessly with the user's calendaring solution, because that's where they live day to day in terms of their activities. So any solutions and ecosystem you put in place should be seamlessly integrated with those calendars. Okay, That's about the end of what we've got for today. We will be around for about 10 or 15 minutes longer answering questions. Those questions are chat only, so we're not taking audio questions. So we will end the audio element and the screen share, and then we'll go over, leave the chat open for any questions and follow-up questions, and I'll be there in the background to answer any as well. But thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you so much for taking the time, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks very much.